Customs Administrative Order Number 13/2020. Subject: Imposition of penalties, surcharges, interests, and other charges for lifting, claiming, or recovering part of the proceeds in the sale of impliedly abandoned goods. Introduction. This Customs Administrative Order, CAO, is issued pursuant to Section 204, Chapter 1, Title 2, in relation to CAO No. 17/2019 on abandonment, kinds, effects, and treatment, Sections 1129 and 1130, Chapter 6, Title 11, Section 1300, Title 13, and other related provisions of Republic Act No. 10863, otherwise known as the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act, CMTA. Section 1. Scope. This CAO shall cover all impliedly abandoned goods, whether for consumption, warehousing, admission, or transshipment. Section 2. Objectives. 2.1 To effectively implement the provisions of the CMTA relating to impliedly abandoned goods. 2.2 To impose penalties, surcharges, interests, and other charges on the lifting, claiming, or recovery of proceeds in the sale of impliedly abandoned goods, and 2.3 To provide guidelines on the imposition of penalties, surcharges, interests, and other charges therefor. Section 3. Definition of terms. For purposes of this CAO, the following terms are defined accordingly. 3.1 Claiming shall refer to the privilege granted to the importer, owner, or consignee to lodge the goods declaration, or to cause the release of the shipment where duties, taxes, and other charges have already been paid, in its favor within a period prescribed under the CMTA. 3.2 Date of discharge of last package shall refer to the date when the last cargo intended for discharge in the port of entry has been unloaded from the carrier. 3.3 Filing shall refer to the submission of the hard copy of the goods declaration coupled with complete set of requisite supporting documents. 3.4 Final assessment shall refer to the assessment deemed final 15 days after receipt of the notice of assessment by the importer or consignee. 3.5 Goods declaration shall refer to a statement made in the manner prescribed by the Bureau and other appropriate agencies, by which the persons concerned indicate the procedure to be observed in the application for the entry or admission of imported goods and the particulars of which the Customs Administration shall require. 3.6 Lifting shall refer to the process of allowing the lodgement and filing of goods declaration or continuation of the customs clearance process involving the shipment, and subsequent release thereof to the owner, importer, or consignee. This includes the reactivation of the Bureau's automated system for the particular shipment or goods declaration from abandoned to active status. 3.7 Lodgement shall refer to the registration of a goods declaration with the Bureau. 3.8 Mark shall refer to the label which is legibly, indelibly, and permanently printed or attached, as the nature of the foreign goods or container will permit, showing the ultimate purchaser thereof in the Philippines, and the name of the country of origin of such goods, in the official language of the Philippines. 3.9 Perishable goods shall refer to goods liable to perish or goods that depreciate greatly in value while stored or which cannot be kept without great disproportionate expense, which may be proceeded to, advertised and sold at auction upon notice if deemed reasonable. Section 4. General Provisions. 4.1 The Commissioner, subject to the approval of the Secretary of Finance, shall promulgate rules and regulations for the enforcement of the CMTA. 4.2 Consistent with its mandate to ensure facilitation of international trade and commerce and to prevent abuse, the Bureau shall ensure that prescribed periods provided by the CMTA are complied with by the stakeholders so that goods are released on time. 4.3 The Bureau is likewise bound to minimize, if not prevent, any instance of overstaying or impliedly abandoned cargoes in the terminal facilities to protect public interest. 4.4 For services rendered and documents issued in relation to the lifting, claiming, or recovery of proceeds in the sale of impliedly abandoned goods by the stakeholder, fees and charges shall be collected by the Bureau. 4.5 The District Port Collector shall strictly monitor the period within which goods may be declared impliedly abandoned. It is his or her responsibility to issue a decree of abandonment against such goods after the lapse of the period. Section 5. Impliedly abandoned goods. The following goods are considered impliedly abandoned. 5.1 Failure to lodge file the goods declaration after the lapse of the original 15 calendar days or as adjusted by the Commissioner, from the date of discharge of the last package. 5.2 Failure to lodge file the goods declaration after the lapse of the approved extension of 15 calendar days. 5.3 Failure to pay the assessed duties and taxes 15 calendar days from final assessment. 5.4 Failure to pay the assessed duties and taxes in case of regulated goods which are subject of an alert order, within 15 calendar days from final assessment from receipt of the order of release and lifting the alert or order lifting the alert. 5.5 Failure to submit the required documents, permits, or clearances, or information under the following instances, whichever comes first. 5.5.1 In case of provisional goods declaration, within 45 calendar days from the date of lodgment or after the lapse of the approved extension of 45 calendar, or 5.5.2 Under Section 117 of the CMTA within 15 calendar days from final assessment. 5.6 Failure to claim the goods within 30 calendar days from payment of the assessed duties, taxes, fees, interests, and other charges, or 5.7 Failure to claim passengers' baggage within 30 calendar days from arrival thereof or from payment of the assessed duties, taxes, and other charges. 5.8 Failure to claim mail matter within 30 calendar days from the third delivery of the notice card to the addressee or claimant. 5.9 Failure to mark the goods within 30 calendar days after the receipt of notice to mark from the district collector concerned. 5.10 Failure to withdraw the imported raw materials or imported goods within 1 year from the date of arrival at the customs bonded warehouse, CBW. 5.11 Failure to withdraw perishable goods within 3 months from the date of arrival at the CBW. 5.12 Failure to withdraw perishable goods after the lapse of the approved extension of 3 months to withdraw the goods from the CBW. Section 6. Lifting, claiming, or recovery of proceeds in the sale of impliedly abandoned goods. 6.1 Lifting of implied abandonment of goods. 6.1.1 The implied abandonment of goods may be lifted by the district collector upon request by the owner, importer, or consignee, subject to the payment of fees and charges in accordance with the schedule provided under the CAO. 6.1.2 The request for lifting shall clearly indicate the following information. A. Reasons why the goods were impliedly abandoned. B. Whether the goods were declared abandoned by the Bureau's automated system, or whether a decree of abandonment has already been issued against the goods. C. Number of times in the past that the importer has requested for lifting of abandonment for its shipments, and D. Whether the goods are subject of an alert order or a warrant of seizure and detention. In this case, a clearance shall be secured from CIIS, ESS, Law Division, MISTG, at the port is required, with the MISTG confirming the inactive status of the lodgment or shipment. 6.2 Claiming of impliedly abandoned goods. The owner, importer, or consignee may request to lift or set aside the decree of abandonment and claim the impliedly abandoned goods by paying the fees and charges therefor. The request shall clearly indicate the following information. 6.2.1 Details of the shipment including the date of payment of duties and taxes therefor. 6.2.2 Whether a decree of abandonment has already been issued against the goods. 6.2.3 Number of times in the past that the importer has requested to claim its impliedly abandoned shipments. 6.2.4 Whether the goods are subject of an alert order or a warrant of seizure and detention. In this case, a clearance shall be secured from CIIS, ESS, Law Division, at the port. 6.3 Once the implied abandonment has been lifted and unless the same has already been released by the Bureau, the owner, importer, or consignee of the imported goods may reclaim the impliedly abandoned imported goods by filing the corresponding goods declaration, subject to the following conditions. 6.3.1 The subject goods have not been disposed by the Bureau. 6.3.2 The goods declaration is lodged within 30 calendar days after the lapse of the 15 calendar days period to file. 6.3.3 The duties, taxes, and other charges have been paid in full. 6.3.4 The charges and fees due to the port or terminal operator have been paid in full. 6.3.5 The expenses incurred before the release of the imported goods from customs custody have been paid in full, and 6.3.6 Compliance with all other pertinent legal requirements. 6.4 Where the owner or importer of the imported goods intends to claim the proceeds of the sale after deduction of any duty and tax and all other charges and expenses incurred as provided in Section 1143, Section 1141 and Section 1144 of the CMTA, the claimant may file a request therefor at the office of the district collector within a period of 30 calendar days from payment of the auction price by the winning bidder. 6.4.1 The request shall clearly indicate the following information. A. Details of the shipment. B. Reasons why the goods were impliedly abandoned. C. Number of times in the past that the importer has claimed for the proceeds for the sale of its abandoned shipments, and D. Whether the goods were subject of an alert order or a warrant of seizure and detention, clearance from CIIS, ESS District Command, Law Division, MISTG, at the port. 6.4.2 The district collector shall forward the request to the law division or equivalent unit of the port to determine whether no offense has been committed against the goods or against the owner, importer, or consignee. The law division or equivalent unit of the port shall conduct summary proceedings similar to a forfeiture proceedings. 6.4.3 Any decision allowing the release of the proceeds shall be considered as decision adverse to the government and therefore subject to review by the Commissioner or the Secretary of Finance, as the case may be. Section 7. Penalties, surcharges, interests, and other charges. The following penalties, surcharges, interests, and other charges shall be imposed for the lifting, claiming, or recovery of proceeds in the sale of impliedly abandoned goods. The docket and request charge shall be paid by the claimant upon filing of the corresponding request. Proof of payment shall be attached to the request, without which the same shall not be accepted. The penalty, surcharge, interest, and documentary stamp tax shall be paid upon approval of the request or appeal. The order lifting the abandonment or setting aside the decree of abandonment shall not be released without presenting the proof of payment thereof. Section 8. Penal provision. Failure to comply with the provisions of this CAO shall be a ground for administrative and disciplinary sanctions against any erring public officer or employee in accordance with Title 14 of the CMTA, other applicable penal provisions and Civil Service Commission, CSC, and Ombudsman rules and regulations. Section 9. Reporting and monitoring system. The district collector shall monitor and report the fees and charges collected pursuant to the CAO to the Office of the Commissioner on a weekly basis. Section 10. Periodic review. Unless otherwise provided, this CAO shall be reviewed every 3 years and be amended or revised, if necessary. Section 11. Repealing clause. All other rules and regulations issued by the Bureau which are inconsistent with this CAO are deemed repealed or modified accordingly. Section 12. Separability clause. If any part of the CAO is declared unconstitutional or contrary to existing laws, other parts not so declared shall remain in full force or effect. Section 13. Effectivity. This CAO shall take effect 15 calendar days after its publication at the Official Gazette or a newspaper of national circulation.